Happy Halloween.
Beginning with the pledge allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, Robert Bay's here, Michael Fritz is here, Brenda Wall is not here, Allison's here, Derek's here, Dave's here, Steve's here, Corey's here, Pamela's here, Amanda's here, the Reverend's here, Warren's here, and our solicitor, Joe Lennon, is here. Council minutes before you see our Borough Council minute meetings for September 11th, 2025. Are there any clarifications, revisions, corrections, or can the minutes be accepted as presented?
Motion to accept the minutes as presented.
Second.
Motion been moved and seconded to approve the minutes as presented. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion passes. Approval and payment of bills. Before you see payables as of October 8th, in the general fund, we have $150,504.24. Liquid fuels, we have $3,614.02. Sewer fund, $57,911.71. Is there a motion to approve the consolidated payment of the bills as reported?
So moved.
Second.
Motion been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion passes. Approval of treasurer's report. We're gonna look at general fund having $323,089.90. Liquid fuels has $138,279.02. Fire tax fund is $4,224.99. EMS tax fund has $4,677.49. Sewer fund is $274,606.13. Our reserve account is $753,753.32. You'll see a total fund balance of $955,630.85. And we also show our loan balance as of 10/03 for 135 North Prospect loan, which is this building, $681,019.55. So a motion to accept and file for audit the consolidated treasurer's report for September 2025.
So moved.
Second.
Motion been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion passes. Public comment. You all here for the opening of bids for refuse?
Yes, Mr. President. Good
Yeah.
afternoon, Al DeGenero. I just wanted to speak to you about it, so long as I can do it before you vote. I'll be happy to wait until it comes up on your agenda, or I can speak now, whatever you prefer.
Why don't you wait till we get to it in the agenda as that, because we have to vote to change agendas and things like that. So if we'll actually open for public comment before that.
Thank you.
Consultant report, Borough Engineer.
Okay, as Amanda had noted on the meeting agenda, the SDA report, no major updates or issues, but I think the big thing is I did give the Works Director a draft of the HVAC and the draft of the electrical plans for the new garage. So he has them to look at. There's a couple questions on gas piping. And I think I saw some trenching back here, so I think you've already.
The UGI.
Yeah, you probably have a gas pipe in the size that we need now. So, you could just email me back and then we can get those plans finalized to the comments. So I'm excited to report that that's moving forward from our end. And again, all of that is no cost because it's through the water rate. Other than that, I really have nothing else, so unless you folks have any questions or?
We're good. Solicitor, anything to report?
Just research is needed to answer questions for the month, and I see that my items are covered elsewhere in the agenda.
All right. Mayor, I know you always have a report.
I do. So, believe it or not, there was really nothing significant to report from the commission meeting. But if you notice on
What
the
commission?
Police Commission.
Okay, sorry.
Okay. So if you notice on the police chief's monthly report, our reportables are up a little bit, and I'm glad to see our two highest are for motor vehicle citations and motor vehicle warnings. So that makes me happy to see that they're cracking down on that, because I see a lot of that, a lot of things going on in the borough, so I just wanted to point that out. That's all.
Great.
Publicly, I'd like to thank you for the article.
You're welcome.
In the
Everybody
newsletter,
see
it was
the
very well
article
written.
in the newsletter?
No.
You didn't read the
It's
newsletter?
been a tough week.
Like,
Sorry.
you said yet, so you're
Yeah.
I
okay.
haven't gotten to file yet.
Page two. Yeah, open it up. I would like to thank Amanda, because I'll tell you what, I handed her a story and she laid it out beautifully. I really appreciate it.
Yep, just for reference, because we talked about the newsletter, you mentioned what's it cost us right now to mail a newsletter out, Amanda?
We are at,
We need to start asking for emails from people and try to shrink down our mail
we're looking at almost $3,500 a year for
to
newsletters.
send it out.
To send out a newsletter. And that's our prices now, that's not including, it's all going up next year, the stamps, post, everything.
So next newsletter, we may want to say, hey, we're trying to reduce paper and everything else, but if you like it on an email, send in your email and we'll take off the mail list or something like that. So we'll see how successful we are on that. Department staff reports, anything from finance?
I'm working on the budget.
And, when's closing for the other building?
Tomorrow, 9 a.m.
So Randy's mother just died, will you be able to be there?
Yeah, he did, she did die last weekend, he stopped in today, got all the paperwork and everything, so I saw him today.
I need to be here tomorrow for that.
You do not? Okay.
Outstanding.
Am I needed for it? You are not? Okay. No. It's all covered.
Borough zoning code, local, anything to report?
For zoning permits issued, a lot of building permits for the third quarter. Everything's going smoothly, a lot of people are paying permits online now, that we have the option.
Credit card option, right?
Yep.
Public safety, anything? Emergency management?
Nothing new.
Public works, lay it on us.
My report's attached. A couple main things of point in this report. UGI completed the gas main extension on Prospect Street. The line is run through our parking lot to the building, so we are able to connect to the gas at any point in time in our system.
Can you double check when they install the meter that it's sized for, if we go change all the units here and the genset?
It is when we put in for the.
Yeah, that was our demand, that's made demand, okay.
All the stuff at Old Borough Hall was removed for sale, so everything's done over there. That building's ready to move on. The LSA grant for the category 4 was submitted to DCE for consideration. Another thing from Med Ed, will be conducting tree trimming along Jackson Avenue in the right-of-way space from Butter Lane substation all the way to Jackson Hall. They're supposed to do that starting this spring. So if you see Lewis trucks, that's what they're doing. And that is everything in my report.
Any questions for the roadmaster? Outstanding. Committee, anything new in the library, Mike?
I know later on, towards the end of the meeting.
Yeah, we plan to fund them again.
It didn't come up at the last meeting. Obviously, there have been some budget cuts on the other end, and I don't know when the last time we voted for an increase, but
That was based on what the state required as the.
Is there a minimum requirement when you have multiple municipalities to get for them to stick?
$3 per person, $5 is considered good. Exeter does many times that in terms of their.
I guess in looking at some of the preliminary budget numbers, and again, nobody asked me to present this, would there be a consideration for $1 per person increase?
Well, there's two things historically that have been, we've probably not always been on the same channel as the library. One is when they started building it, they asked for $10,000 contribution, and we said, we'll pick out a stained glass window. Somehow the plans all got changed. We got no window, and we got the offer like you can have the door to the restroom or something else with a plaque on it. So we passed on that. Second thing is we actually asked once, how many of residents actually are in the roster over there? And they say, well, that's all proprietary, the library, we're not gonna give that. So we said, well, don't give us the number, just tell me how many times books are used or something like that. They still didn't want to do that. So at some point, I think fiduciary responsibility says if they're not gonna give us any data, then I don't know why we were ever entertaining anything greater than the minimum contribution.
Well,
Now, there may have been some changeover in leadership at the library and stuff like that.
There is.
So, but those seem like pretty common questions you could ask for, you know, if you're trying to fund somebody.
Did we ever bring that up in here before?
Oh, many times.
Not the stained glass one, I'm talking about the data.
Well, stained glass when it comes up every time too.
I'll get you that data for hopefully the next meeting.
Yeah.
Because we meet on Monday night, so again, I'm just throwing it out there, try to help balance things out a little bit.
First step is if we got some stuff like that, we could be making better decisions.
Okay.
How's that
All
sound?
right.
Joint comp plan warrant.
Put in the budget for
Joint comp plan,
Nobody asked me.
Amanda sent out a draft, the most recent draft to everybody on council. I got no feedback from anybody. One of the things that, well, but in the email that they send, they highlight some sections that apply to St. Lawrence. And it was only about a half a dozen pages.
Right.
It wasn't too bad. One of the big changes they made is, like I mentioned previously, they had photographs, or not photographs, but representation of what intersections at Ole Turnpike Road in Perkiomen and St. Lawrence Avenue in Perkiomen with crosswalks.
Okay.
And I have convinced them that at Ole Turnpike Road, and it's never gonna happen. And at St. Lawrence Avenue would require some major changes. So they have put in, totally saying the state would have to do it. But in order to put in crosswalks there, they'd have to change St. Lawrence Avenue to where it swings in and comes in at 90 degrees. And there's a depiction of that. But in the verbiage, it says it requires the state to do it.
Kind of what they did up here at Shelburne.
Yeah.
They didn't bring it totally in at 90 degrees, but yeah, they kind of.
But they straightened it out and stuff. So,
Of all the details, that's what they want is crosswalks?
well, that was one of their objectives.
Okay.
is making
Walkability.
pedestrian ways.
Yeah.
And we have shared with them, the grants that we had going,
You gotta
submitted.
apply for it, right?
And try to go up. And, one of their suggestions is that, if they could get it 90 degrees, they could put one across that goes from where the auto supply across to the,
Right. So this is
McDonald's.
And this is Berks County planning.
Berks County.
Right. And they never interact with PennDOT before?
Well, they are.
This is a big ask,
Right,
you know.
right, well, they realize, but they just said, in order to facilitate
You're right.
crosswalks, that is something that would need to happen, which is,
Understood.
yeah, it's, whether it's gonna ever happen.
Yeah.
And vast majority of their goals and objectives for our little bit,
Our piece of the pie.
our piece of the pie. They did modify the map for the future,
Right.
which goes along with what, we have, how we have modified, where.
Yeah, what we think really is, right?
And it's now
Better.
much better than what it was.
All right.
So those changes have been made.
Recreation, Dave?
Nothing new. I'm in the process of working out some preliminary ideas to get with Pamela about the grant, revamp the playground.
Planning Commission warrant, anything?
No,
Nothing's in front of the Planning Commission, right? Coming up.
Not that I know of.
And nothing's on zoning either, correct? Yeah, good. So, general comments saying we have public meetings, Saturday, October 11th, there's a free public training event being sponsored by our representative Jacqueline Rushnucks. So if you wanna go to Muhlenberg High School, you can go get your private information shredded. And then, all our meetings are here at the St. Lawrence Borough Municipal Building, 135 North Prospect Street. We have changes to office hours. The borough's gonna be closed on Monday the 13th. Yard waste will be on Wednesday, 10/15, and trick or treating is only one night, which is aligns with Exeter from October 31st from 5 to 8. So we have no executive session. We have an old business, new business. What? No. New business. We want to set the date for a budget meeting and authorize the publication of the budget meeting date. So what would that date be, you guys?
It's up to David. When's he not working?
David and a backup in case you're not here, Dave.
Well, we'll schedule it for a day when I'm not working.
Yeah, but that's hard to find some days.
Not for November,
Okay,
because the voluntary overtime for November hasn't come out yet.
gotcha.
I'll hobble in.
You can zoom in.
Tuesday the 4th?
That's election.
That's election day.
Oh, it is election day, by
You can get a sandwich.
the way. Monday the 3rd?
You want to come in third?
I
And
have-
everybody else can come in?
I have,
we out?
I will come in for the meeting. I have to double check, because I have physical therapy
Or
that
We're
day.
gonna push it back a week.
The 7th Friday.
Monday, Wednesday, Friday are physical therapy days. I just have to check my schedule.
How about Thursday, the 13th then?
That's council.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm off the 3rd, the 4th, the 6th, or the 3rd, the 4th, the 7th, 8th, 9th, or do you shoot for October 30th?
I really will be home.
12th. Well, November 12th?
Yeah,
Okay. Wednesday, November 12th.
I will,
So we want to authorize the date in of November 12th, what time?
I have to double check my schedule or change my physical therapy. Is that a Wednesday?
Yeah, it's when, or you wanna do the 13th, Thursday?
That's
Yeah,
council meeting.
That's
Council
council.
meeting, so,
I need
yeah.
time to make any changes that we have to do.
All right, well, what time is your physical therapy?
I have to
You don't know
check.
yet.
Oh, you don't know yet, okay. All right, well,
I will check
10 o'clock?
before I leave.
9 o'clock?
we'll tentatively make it 9?
9 o'clock on the 10th of November, budget meeting.
12.
Excuse me.
Wednesday.
Budget meeting to be advertised.
Yep.
Is there a motion, second?
So,
Motion been moved, seconded to authorize a budget meeting on November 12th at 9 a.m. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion passes.
It may move a little later.
And is the manager advertising?
yes.
Okay.
So the motion, do we need a motion to distribute a check to Mount Penn Volunteer Firemen's Relief Association of $5,668.54, and a check to Exeter Volunteer Firefighters Relief Association in the amount of $5,668.54.
So moved.
Second.
Motion been moved second to distribute the checks as noted. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Updated garage budget. Roadmaster, we basically, the first dollars we had talked about was, we checked to make sure it was prevailing wage, which it was not. So then the cost went up approximately $20,000.
So the first quote was given from Shirk, and they had built prevailing wage into that, or so they claimed, but they were not a CoStar's vendor, so thus we had to go through Gordian, who has a procurement process to be able to give us
Right.
that light CoStar's experience. They claim that there's another $20,000 in prevailing wage needed.
Okay. So our total then would be around $94,345 or so.
Yeah. And that's just for the building.
That's for the building. Put up a shell,
Shell, insulation,
doors,
doors.
stuff like that, pour slabs and stuff like that.
20 grand in just labor.
That's what Gordian claims. I cannot refute that because I don't know the process on prevailing wage, so.
I just can't fathom $20,000 in addition on a project this small.
Well,
I can.
well, I thought those prices were fixed, and they're already bid out, so
Well,
it
yeah.
should be.
This is the original.
Yes, that's the Shirk, and in there is a line item for prevailing wage, which they asked me twice about. I said it was in there.
And this baseline price is $66,250. And I think the email that kind of spurred this whole thing said it was because wages and the increase in materials.
I
It
think we added stuff or something, wasn't there more in there, however?
I'd say
Because I had said that,
Yeah, whatever was in there.
again, that's a pretty hefty increase on a
I
job
think it
this
started
size.
at
It is.
66 and then went to 74 because something else. I think
Oh, we added something, because we had to leave
added
it after,
something,
because
yeah,
that was in
those meetings
July.
after.
Yeah, I was not
And
here.
then
for
the
that.
final was the night before.
Well,
From Shirk to, but it
And I
was
think
the
the
Gordian.
is the Gordian quote right there?
Yeah, the Gordian quotes are
In
on the
front of
table.
Bob.
All right, and both are co-stars? No, they're not.
No.
No.
Shirk is not, Shirk is not, the Gordian is.
Gordian is a procurement process.
Right, okay.
So who's doing the work?
Yeah.
So the way that Gordian explains this is Shirk does the work.
So they broker it.
Yeah.
So this is.
And this is totally necessary?
What do you mean totally necessary?
Is, watch how I put it,
Prevailing wage totally necessary?
No,
Yeah.
Do we have to broker it through them?
Yes.
That's the question you're asking.
yeah.
Well, technically, if we went and got another bid, we'd have 3 bids.
Well, I mean, this is above the
So that'd be-
competitive bidding threshold, you'd have to go through a formal bidding process.
KPN avoids that.
Yeah.
KPN is already pre-bid.
Okay, yes, well, it's a CoStar's equivalent, it's a state procurement program through a state government, I guess.
Complete in place, furnish and install.
Yeah.
And
And is it
after,
design build? Yeah.
Well, basically, we already have to design.
right, and after $94,000, we still don't have electric or heat.
No. Exactly.
Is that
That's a
broken-
shell.
Is it broken down?
The Gordian quote breaks it down. I mean, you can try to compare items, but the way they break the numbering down is a little bit different than church quote.
That's the problem I'm having.
So if they're just brokering it for CoStars, correct?
It's a CoStar's equivalent, so their process is they are the procuring body, so we do not have to go through formal bid. CoStar's does that as a state sanctioned program. This
Right.
is a separate program.
So they get paid for a service.
Absolutely, I'm sure
Okay,
they do.
all right. So why would they have to change the breakdown?
That I don't know.
Now think about that. They're not in the building business, they're in the procurement business, right? So why should those line item numbers change?
I don't know, but they're gonna probably add 10% on whatever they got a bid for their involvement.
And that'd be fine,
They got,
you
You
know,
could consider them like a general, if you were looking at it from that angle. So Shirk's building it, but we had to hire them to be able to do the procurement of this into the building without going through the sealed bid process.
yes, there are fees for services and et cetera, but to do it line item by line item,
Magic.
that doesn't make any sense. I have never seen that
Magic.
in this business.
No, you can't match it, that's what Mike's saying, you can't
Yeah,
match
the
it.
verbiage is probably different,
It's-
so much that you can't. line
Right,
up.
and, well, one's in, I mean, Gordian's is in very general terms, and Shirk's is in far more specific terms.
so what are you suggesting? You want to go back to Gordian and come back and say, we need to understand, because this one price was this per line, the lines don't match per categories, come back and make the numbers, or make lines match, is that what you're
Yes, I
asking?
mean, we want an apples to apples comparison, I mean, for lack of a better term.
Yeah. So you wanna go try to get that from them?
Is it, all right, is this the only way to get to the end game?
There's another, well, in the case of this, if you're going through a CoStar's like vendor, like Gordian, there's another one that I don't remember what the name of, but it's gonna be a similar process. You're going through them as a third-party contractor to build the program like a CoStar's acquisition. There's no CoStar's vendor to build, like Shirk is a CoStar's vendor, but it's only for, I think it's remediation,
Mhm.
fixing, repair, like
Right.
that type of thing, not
No
total
general
retrofit.
construction.
Correct.
Right, yeah, because
Okay.
sometimes it's limited, when it's CoStar's, not everything is CoStar's that they
Exactly.
provide.
Of course, being aware it's getting late in the seasonal game here, and to restart the process probably doesn't meet the needs of the borough as far as the equipment goes. Who knows when it could happen at this point? Is there any value, because when your back's against the wall a little bit, your back's against the wall, is there any value to finding a CoStar's contractor?
They don't exist, the CoStar's contractor will not install,
None of them.
not for municipal buildings, that's why we went towards the Gordian route. And there was another one, I thought it was Solutions or something?
There's another one I saw at PSATs, but I do not remember likely what the name of that was.
Source something?
Sourcewell.
Sourcewell.
Sourcewell,
Yes,
that's
that's what
it,
it is.
Sourcewell.
Sourcewell, and I think there's one called Blue Star.
Sourcewell did, hoop buildings for Main Creek Township, like as storage and salt.
Mhm.
So Sourcewell was used, it was furnished and installed complete in place. There were certain things the township crew had to do, but overall they did it. And it was similar to.
I'm not gonna say this is a total, cause like we are responsible for some stuff too, so technically that quote doesn't include site preparation, that falls on the borough. So like we have to,
Take up the asphalt, some of the stuff like that.
Black
Right,
top
and-
level.
and when you do it with your own labor, it's not subject to the competitive bidding that.
So do you think, so Mike, if you wanna go out and still try to have the pencil sharpened, how much reduction are you looking for versus the late in time and things like that? I guess that's what I'm trying to understand.
honestly haven't even given it that much thought. It's the fact that, the $20,000+ adder to this size project just was like, wow. And again, we're gonna be
Well-
heat and electricity for that cost.
Yeah.
And,
Well, we probably wouldn't have that with them anyway, because I don't know if they can do it
Well,
in
still-
stall like that.
to $20,000 management cost on a project like this,
Well, like I said, their quoting process was not the same as Shirk's, like, as you see, it's very blurred for what valuation something has versus, like, they lay out the gable fan and stuff, but then like the building structure, all that stuff is just a single item and a price, instead of
this isn't a rocket
Size,
science kind of design
siding.
here, you know? And that makes it even more suspicious that, or not say suspicious, but just kind of
Unusual.
unusual that.
But
And
what,
It's
yeah.
a service that maybe not a lot provide. They've got their niche in it. Here's our cost. If you don't want it, this is how you have to do it.
Well, I will say, I think a lot of other municipalities will look at this in the, are you gonna go through the process of putting out a sealed bid and then you're gonna get lowest bidder? So in this case, you get to pick who you want, they take care of procurement, so you're paying for a specialty. It's almost like an expensive ticket.
Yeah.
And that's what we were, directed to do, so it's up to the council.
And at this point, we have no idea what electrical.
That just came today.
Do we know what those numbers are?
And now like the plan set for making sure it's code compliant.
They were over $100,000, so.
You're definitely gonna spend between 5 and 10 to put electric in, and we haven't talked about
It's
heat.
only one year.
Right.
Line item
Just
for HVAC here.
Yeah, it's all.
I think that's for the gable fan.
That's just the gable fan.
Yeah. I mean, we can go back to Gordy and just say, can you explain?
Well, they have.
Well,
They
one-
just did it in different terms. I mean,
If they want the work, make them match it, so you can compare, like Jen said. We need
Okay.
to run it first to make a decision.
You need fair comparison, and if this doesn't look, it doesn't look like there's not enough, detail to make a fair comparison, and Gordy and.
Well, it's never gonna be a fair comparison because it's one Apple and now the Orange trying to provide the same thing under different terms. So you're never gonna get the shirt cost through
no.
Gordy. It's not gonna happen. So in my world, it would be at least 10 to 15% higher. So if we look at it that way, if it was 76,
We're at 20.
now you're talking
I think we're at
10,000 more, that's 86.
Yeah, we're at like 30,000 or 30% more.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there is a delta in there.
Well, that's the factor, they have a 1.27 factor.
That's their,
270.
that's how they make their money.
See it here?
So still the question is, do you wanna try to whittle this down, or do you wanna go out to bid? Or you wanna give up this year? What's the rest of council think?
We're gonna go through the
They
bid
do
process,
that,
that's
yeah,
gonna cost us money.
You're gonna have to have specs, you're gonna have to have a bid, you're gonna pay engineers, you're gonna, all that's gonna probably be,
Geographically, like.
I'm not gonna speak for Pamela, at least 10,
But different markups.
Yeah, and the delay in.
and delaying construction, so the money's going out the door one way and another, who's it gonna go to?
Do you want him to also look at Sourcewell and the other one?
You could price compare. I mean, I will say, based off of what Gordy has said, the way they will move on this, it's 30 days, they have the building erected. So, it seems like it is a quick turnaround on once you greenlight it.
There's some value in that.
It's gonna be up in 30 days. You want it
Because
by
the start here May 1st.
You want it by November 30th, or you want, you want it up and have New Year's party in it?
All right. So let's go beyond the build. Are we in a position then to move from there to getting power to the building and obviously getting our heat in the building to keep or at least semi-thaw some of the trucks out during the snow and ice season?
I would say we would be in the position to, the electric would be another drop into the building, and we already talked about having conduit in place for the eventual installation, and gas is on that side of the building.
Is any of that in here?
No,
Is that-
we
is
would
that
be doing that,
self-perform?
we'd be doing that
Like we would be supplying the conduit, like conduit through underneath the concrete and stuff like that to stub up, knowing that eventually we're gonna have an electrician come and put that in. Or a gas line would go through one of those sleeves or something like that. Plus, you know, another, usually a spare conduit for communications, whatever. So there was thought process to have that all in there. But, you know, we weren't gonna have that on the initial installation.
If you tell Gordy that, they would budget that in to do that for you.
Yeah. But since we were gonna be doing the site work anyway, it sort of made sense to us to, hey, we can just put that stuff in the ground, you know, so. So do you wanna go and spend it all, or you wanna go try to get a sharper pencil, is what we're asking.
Is there any chance of just making a counter proposal?
No, generally not, it's not the flea market usually.
Go.
You're, I think,
Businesses have no idea.
I think you're in a little bit of a gotcha situation.
No, I never used Gordian, I never used Sourcewell, their procurement processes to eliminate.
Eliminate them a bit.
It's just the time.
It's just, let's just leave it a more sour taste, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, $30,000.
It is.
So you wanna just not do anything, and we'll try to, the roadmaster, find out from the second, Sourcewell, and see what they come in, go back to Gordy and say, unless we can see the line by line from Shirk.
Gordian.
Well, Gordian's the one that provides this number.
Right.
This is the number we have to use.
But we can't match the numbers up from what we know Shirk was gonna, so the 30,000, we're trying to understand, where's Gordian, what is Gordian doing for that 30,000? And if it's overhead and administrative, then that needs to be the line item. That's what we're sort of looking for out of there.
Well, say if they, another thing I asked, because they said they had to adjust the prevailing wage, they said that was gonna be a little bit off. And I expected it to be maybe 5,000, 6,000 because Shirk already built that into their quote. So when they delivered this number with $20,000 more, they didn't say, oh, this is just prevailing wage. Or they could have said, here's the factor for our costs. They didn't explain that. They just updated the quote and handed it in.
Does all their side have to be a prevailing wage too?
Well, it's over the.
It's over $25,000, yeah.
Right. So everything they work on is not at their normal. Have you ever been in that situation? I've been in that where we've had to pay our people at a public property, like New York State Thruway, a much higher rate because there's a certain prevailing wage rate. Guys were volunteering to go work on that because they're gonna make so much more money.
Well, sure.
So everything that they touch is also gonna be a prevailing too. So, you know, so maybe now that markup is from 10 to 15 minimum, maybe 20, 25%. Now we're really talking, that's the difference.
Yeah, there's not enough info on that proposal to really understand.
Who is S.J. Thomas Company? Is that who they?
I don't know if that's their parent company or if
Now,
that's the.
how that works is every county in the state, there's a map that you can look at. And for Berks County, S.J. Thomas is the general contractor, electrical contractor, plumbing contractor, all of the trades plus general. So you're in region 10, so they have like regions 9 to 11. And so that's the contractor you work with.
So if we contract with Gordian, that's the contract
That's the
outside.
contractor. And that's how they bid it out. So they have it for so many years. Now, 2026, they'll bid it again. So S.J. Thomas isn't necessarily the contract, but it's going to get all of the, I'll call them general and subcontracts. That
So,
price is
yeah.
good to the end of 2025.
So you wanna go back and try to get a better understanding of the Gordian thing, go ask for sole source also to do that, and come back where we can, the directions of Gordian have to be, we have to be able to see line for line versus what we saw from Shirk and building.
We also needed so that if we want to stick with these numbers for any reason, it has to be done before the end of the year.
The building has, the building has to be installed by the end of the year.
I think contractor.
Contracted.
Okay.
So if this, you can't delay too long.
I understand, yeah.
I think ideally we'd be making a decision in November because that may be running into weather related.
It'd be
Deer
sim-
season, everything else is gonna be tough.
It would be simple for Gordian because these kind of match up. There's no values here. It's really close. I mean, I don't think they're gonna adjust their upcharge, so it just,
Yeah, that one page matches shirts.
yeah, I think by doing that, it's a little bit of a wheel spinner, because I don't think they're gonna adjust their cost, for the obvious reasons. And you could try to pitch the project to another broker, see if you save anything. I don't know how long that takes. Not one for chucking in the towel, but it is what it is.
So what would be your recommendation?
Oh, boy, no pressure.
But
Well,
you're the most knowledgeable.
Well, you either accept that the cost is not what we really want and you spend it, or you try to sharpen your pencil and say, well, we just took another 30 days and only got $5,000 difference.
Yeah.
Or 10, where does your heartache end?
What,
10 or 15, 20,000?
what are we looking at though? What is in this that we don't need?
Nothing really.
Nothing really, so that means that you're either gonna you're gonna accept it because more than likely, the other is gonna be the similar markup
Right,
to this
exactly.
one.
Right.
And if the base amount is similar to the shirk, then
We're right back
that's
where-
what you're gonna spend.
It's a broker money, we're all in agreement that it's
We're right back
You're
to
back
that.
at the same number, same dollar.
It's a nice chunk of change for not getting your hands dirty, copy and paste and
Well,
send out.
from not getting my hands dirty every day, I still want money when I have to make calls, when I have to arrange this, when it gets believe me, there's a lot of stuff behind the firewall that gets done to have people work out in the field.
Right.
So that's, so don't cheat me out of my
And
fee.
for us, it's a have to have, that's the way it has to be. So, I guess you.
So is there a motion to authorize payment up to $94,344.06?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. You can hold your nose if you want. Aye. All opposed? Is that a unanimous vote?
No HVAC or electric?
Not yet.
Why I asked about that, you said about the electrical, while they're here, it's outside of the contract because it's not inclusive. S.J. Thomas, give us a cost on the electrical. We can shop that around. I doubt if it's over $25,000, it better not be over $25,000.
I think at one point we were gonna try to think about, okay, we were waiting on the natural gas line, genset's coming, figure out where everything's gonna be. Sometimes it all looks good on paper until the building gets built, then it doesn't match.
I said, once the building's built, that's.
Right, once the
S.J.
building's
Thomas.
built, then it becomes easier to figure all the rest of that out. That was
And-
sort of the mindset on some of that.
We can move Gordian to the side, and if we can, the numbers are there and the money is there, we can deal directly with S.J. Thomas, or at least now we have a base price to compare it to whoever.
So did our motion pass?
For this, for this building, we have a couple of nice electrical contractors in this area that can handle that building.
It's not a lot.
It's not.
No.
It's not. The heat, nothing,
And it sort of made sense to wait till we get the transfer switch and all that, to then figure it out, have a one-line diagram of how it
Right.
needs to be installed, and then make that all work. Where is that transfer switch gonna be, and things like that, so. That was at least the design intent at some point. So, motion to approve resolution 925-2025, authorizing the Borough of St. Lawrence to request a statewide LSA grant in the amount of $1 million from the Commonwealth Financing Authority for a new firefighting rescue engine. Is there a motion?
I'll move to approve resolution 925-2025, authorizing St. Lawrence Borough to request the statewide LSA grant in the amount of $1 million from Commonwealth Financing Authority for a new rescue engine.
second.
Motion been moved and seconded to approve, to authorize to apply for an LSA grant for $1 million. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. Review potentially award new trash recycling hauler. The floor is open to the solicitor from Mascaro.
Thank you, Mr. President. As I said, Al DeGennaro, Deputy General Counsel for JFD Mascaro Sons. First of all, I want to thank you for the business we've been delighted to serve the borough over this last contract. Just by way of background, and bring you up to snuff. Essentially, this contract is coming up the end of the year, turned out to be a 6-year contract. You awarded a 3-year contract in 2019, it was 20, 21, and 22, and you took 3 one-year options. I would note that when you awarded a contract in 2019, that was pre-COVID. Pricing changed a lot. So I know you have a bid that's lower than our dollar amount.
Yes.
And I know you want to look at that bid, but I want to suggest to you that instead of awarding it subject to the review of the solicitor, that you actually not do that and have the solicitor review the bids, and here's why I want to suggest that to you. If you look at your specs, you have a nice set of detailed and comprehensive specs, and that's really the rules of what the bidders are supposed to comply with. And in your specs, there are certain things that the bidder has to submit. And if the bidder doesn't submit that, and all these things are your protection, if the bidder doesn't submit that, then your language says the bid's not eligible for award. So it really would be almost like an oxymoron to take action on that bid tonight, have a solicitor review it, when in fact the mandatory stuff wasn't submitted. The bid almost was like, it's a pre-qualification, so if it doesn't have these documents, it's not eligible for award. Let me give you an example. Obviously you want to have the necessary insurance protection, so you lay out your insurance requirements. And you say in your specs, after you lay out all the requirements for the specs, after the requirements for the different levels of coverage, you say in your language that if the bidder doesn't provide this information, failure to provide the required certificate of insurance with all this stuff included in it, at the time the bid is submitted, it shall preclude the bid from being considered. That means it's a pre-qualification. If it's not in with the bid, you're not supposed to consider it for award. It's not just that. And let's talk about another thing called the consent of surety. The financial protection the borough has are 2 things. One is a bid bond. I'm sure your solicitor will confirm all this for you, either now or privately or whatever. Bid bond is what you want signed to show that if the bidder's awarded a contract, they'll sign the contract. The consent of surety is something even more important. That's a document that says, when I submit my bid, here's the piece of paper from the bonding company, the surety, that says, we guarantee you're going to provide the performance bond. Because you want to know when you award this contract that the bidder can get the performance bond. You don't want to wait until after the fact and find out you can't get the performance bond. And again, that language says something very similar. And it says, with regard to consent of surety, and also I didn't mention to you that anybody, there's bonding companies that are very, very financially solvent. There's bonding companies that are can only write a bond for $200,000 or $1 million or 2. In your underwriting requirements, which is very common out here in Berks County, other places I've seen, you say the bonding company's got to have at least $40 million in underwriting limits. That's not a lot of money to bonding companies. If you look at our bond that we submitted, the financial wherewithal, it's like a couple $1 billion. Same thing with the other bidder, I'm sure. But the language says if you don't submit that consent of surety, failure to provide the required consent of surety, blah, 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 at the time the bid is submitted, shall preclude the bid from being considered. Again, that same kind of language, which I suggest you the reason why that's in this bid, and is why it's in a lot of bids, is that you want to know when you open the bid that the bidder complies with your specs. You don't want to worry about after the fact, can you get this, can you get that, can you get this, can you get that. And another thing, 2 other things that you asked for that are very similar and also are important in your bid solicitation is where's the trash going to go and where's the recycling going to go. So you ask in your bid specs, very common in other bid solicitations, for the bidder to provide what we call in our industry a disposal capacity letter. Means you go to a landfill, Moscato owns its own landfill, it's a related landfill, we spend all the money, and we don't hold our success against us to say, well, you got your own landfill. Whoever bids on your job has to go to a landfill, get a letter, and include that letter with his bid so that you know that when you award that contract to that bidder, that they have a place to take the trash. And your language in that bid says, very similar to what I just read earlier with regard to the disposal. You got to provide a copy of the permit, included in the bid a letter from the disposal facility that it intends to use, stating that the disposal facility has the capacity to accept and will accept the trash for the full term of the contract. Language is in there. Failure to include the required disposal facility capacity letter shall render the bid ineligible. Again, another area where if the bidder doesn't meet that criteria, they're not eligible for the award. And the same thing with regard to the recycling capacity letter. Same kind of language. You want to know where your recyclables are going. We have a total recycle. There was a period of time where a company called Eagle in some other part of surrounding county stopped taking recyclable materials. All of a sudden, some municipalities are contacting us, can you take our recyclables? So that's that. You also you want to know the financial criteria of the company. You ask for financial statements for 3 years, and you ask for a detailed operation plan, which in our industry is very common for the bidder to tell you who's going to perform the job, what the trucks are, what the equipment is, blah, blah, blah. So even though, if you made first glance say, well, why don't we just award this contract to this company, if it's not us, and look and see if they comply, I would submit that the better thing to do is to have your solicitor look at that bid. And frankly, I'd like to do it, or right to know, look at the bid, because I have some concerns. I've been doing this for Mascara for 35 years. I never heard of this company before. That doesn't mean end all be all, and I know who our competitors are, and it's something Beam, or I forget what it's called, and we don't know it. And I think, you owe it to yourselves, and your residents to make sure it's not low dollar bid, it's lowest responsible bid. Your solicitor will tell you that. So I would suggest that before you award it subject to the solicitor review, and lay the way your bid specs are written, and we've had this before in other cases, and I can tell you that's what the law is. The court says if they don't meet those pre-qualifications, it's just as if they didn't submit a bid. So it's almost like backwards to say, let's give it to them and review it. Now, I think you should review it first. I'd be happy to answer any questions. The pricing, look, the price has gone up significantly from the last time in our bid. You look at our bid, it's $31.51 a unit per month. When you think about sending a truck down that neighborhood, if you look at a per pickup charge, it's not that bad. This other company's lower, but you don't know what their equipment is, you don't know all the things I talked about, and I think you ought to make sure before you take further action that you know this bid's responsive rather than award and come back.
Just a couple items, thanks for your input on that. Even though you mentioned about the operation plan, let me just be very frank. Mascara has not been very receptive, and it caused a lot of issues in the last probably 2 or 3 years servicing this borough. And it's just because we get more complaints from people on things. So, you could tell me you have the trucks, you have the landfill and stuff like that, but it's still, the garbage has to be picked up per the contract. And I can tell you right now, you guys are not sitting as one of the preferred vendors in my eyes to this borough. Point blank.
Well, that's interesting.
So don't tell me just because there's no management plan that you guys are going to be enacting the management plan, because that has not occurred.
Well, I looked at the evaluations that we get from here.
I've submitted plenty of complaints, and a lot of things have not been well.
Well, just so you understand.
So I'm just point blank telling you, just because you hand me a piece of paper, this is our operating plan, doesn't mean that's what's going to happen through the whole life of the contract.
Well,
that's been demonstrated by your company.
I mean, look, we've.
So.
Yeah. I'd like to just say that's our president's point of view, not necessarily all of council's point of view.
Appreciate it. Right. Look, we're not perfect, but one thing I can tell you is if we make a miss, we come back and get it. And there's a reason why we have more municipal contracts here than anybody else, and we do. The public companies, and look, we're not a nationwide company. We can't compete with the waste managers and the public throughout the country, but I can tell you in this area, nobody has the infrastructure that we have. A landfill that's environmentally sound, a recycling facility that's right there. There's a human element to this, but honestly, Mr. President, we go by the evaluations, and if you have complaints and we didn't address them, that's unfortunate, but when we send somebody here every quarter and they fill out an evaluation, say how we're doing, you can't please everybody all the time.
Have we got quarter evaluations? Quarterly evaluations?
Yeah, why are we getting good evaluations when we come here?
Because they're not taking any of my comments, which are all in the public meeting, probably for the last 8 months.
Yeah. Well, this is the first I'm hearing about it.
Now you know.
Okay. Well, that's
certainly you can call your route supervisor and others, because there's been complaints going through that way.
Well, we had a guy here, Jose Martin, who I know did an excellent job in your community and other communities interacting with the borough. If complaints come in, they get the complaints, they go out and pick it up before the truck leaves. The complaints come in afterwards, we try to get it the next day. I mean, have we missed your trash, or are you getting complaints from residents?
I get, mostly it's from residents.
Yeah, a particular street.
And I get tired of hearing about it, and it's the same things over and over again.
Look, I can't address that.
Right.
All I can say is I'll stand on my company's reputation.
And I'm standing on the complaints I'm getting, so don't think that's a very high pedestal.
Understood.
Have any other council members gotten complaints from citizens? I don't believe it's any higher, the complaints than from other haulers that we've had in the past.
When's the last hauler we didn't have it was Mascara? 20 years ago?
That was quite a while ago, but I was on council back then.
So was I.
And, you know, there were complaints.
That's right.
There were Lebanon farms we had and stuff. We had a fair number of complaints about them. I don't think Mascaro's is any different. And personally, I think I've had one complaint.
I probably had more replacement.
And
Yeah.
they called me and I told them to call Mascaro's and it was taken care of.
So noted.
Yeah. Have we had a review of this other bid?
Not yet.
Not yet. So, the points he's bringing up, you at this point in time cannot respond to those.
Right, I just got this,
Okay.
Because they came in today.
yes.
So, how can we expedite you reviewing that to make sure it is a legitimate?
The only thing you could do would be to have Joan review all the bids and report at the next meeting. And then make the motion at the next meeting.
Do we wanna do that?
It's up to council.
Right, I mean, the alternatives are review the lowest bid.
Yeah,
and
just
approve
For
it.
compliance to the,
And for compliance, subject to approval, or you can have me review the bids, and then vote on the next meeting. I mean,
Can it be
those are the two options.
can it be a third option? You review the lowest bidder. If indeed that doesn't qualify, if they do qualify, then we'll accept the bid. If they don't qualify, then we go to the next lowest bidder, rather than you reviewing all.
That
That's
would-
how it goes.
That would be,
That's how
that
it
would be
goes.
Joe reviewing, reporting next month, and
Right.
then she'll say the lowest bidder's package was submitted and it's
Sure.
Right, and we would need to have a meeting of council, because remember that in most bid specs, there's also a provision that allows the waiver of certain bid defects if considered in the best interest of the borough, if they're minor, technical, and don't go to the heart of competitive bidding, and those are determinations that council would have to make.
Mhm.
When is your next meeting, Mr.
A month.
It's always the second Thursday.
Second Thursday.
Thursday. Well, our contract goes till the end of the month, end of the year, so you would have next month to make an award, correct?
yes.
As long as your bid's still good,
Pardon me?
as long as your bid's still.
I think the bids are good for 60 or 90 days, you just opened them yesterday.
Yeah.
I've gone to hundreds of meetings, I've never seen a bid open one day and quickly the next day award a contract. Usually the solicitor reviews it before they make an award, as opposed to saying subject to review. Because, respectfully, Joan, if I gave you a case, these things I'm talking about, they're not waivers. I think there's a case right on point that I was involved with, they'll say, if you don't have these things, you can't waive those defects.
Right, I mean, there are certain,
Yeah.
there are certain defects that are material,
Right.
and there's a whole line of cases going, back in the 1930s on
Right.
this. And there are certain that are informalities that can be waived.
Exactly. And these things I'm talking about, they're not informalities, they're the material, but you can get to that conclusion.
Right,
yourself.
I'm aware of bonds and insurance
Sure.
being, considered mandatory, but, insurance rating not necessarily.
Right.
Can I
Sure.
just speak on behalf
Sure.
of Deems? So I'm Andrea from Deems Disposal. We own Eagle Disposal, used to be our customer. That was prior to 2019. So we had Eagle Disposal for 20 years. In 2019, the company was sold when the owner retired to Waste Connections, which turned into a disaster. And we had a 5-year non-compete, so we're back. We had a great reputation with Eagle Disposal. We had 32 municipal contracts servicing 80,000 customers per week within those 32 municipal contracts. Eagle Disposal, we had 144 employees, 80 trucks, and we had about 20,000 private subscription accounts and 4,500 commercial accounts.
Spread over how many municipalities?
We had 32.
32, okay.
Within those 32 municipalities, there were 80,000 homes we serviced per week.
Is that currently?
That was when we owned
Before,
Eagle.
okay.
We had a 5-year non-compete.
Right.
We weren't able to start back until
Sure.
January. So we started January of 25. Right now we have, all our equipment is brand new. We have about 3,600 private subscription accounts. That's just open subscription. Anyone house stops can sign up. We have about 450 commercial accounts, which is your metal front load dumpsters at businesses. And we have about 150 roll-off accounts.
Where are you located?
We're right in East Earl, right near Shady Maple in Lancaster County.
Joe, would we be able to word a motion such that we would award, we wouldn't name the winner, the person.
Low bidder as a.
We would award the contract to the lowest responsive bidder upon review of.
I wouldn't do that.
Okay,
because
then let's,
the motion is.
I'll make a motion, we table this till next month, till Joe can
Pending
review the bids.
review of bids.
Yeah, I have to look to Joni for her
Yeah,
So
let's-
professional.
There's no motion? So be it.
Yeah, I motion we table this till next month until Joe can review the bid packages.
Second.
Motion been moved and seconded to, vote on action of the, municipal, waste bids next meeting. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, motion passes.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Yep. Any other items of interest? Any new business, old business? Is there a motion? Let's go to, we had on here a motion to authorize purchase of a generator, genset. Once again, we don't have our numbers in yet, so it makes no sense to authorize a dollar amount until we get some better information. All right, so we can put that on for next month. Okay, we also have for 2025 contributions, the library at $5 a person and 1,892 persons equal $9,460. Then we have Berks County Conservation District $500, Berks County Solid Waste $500, Crime Alert of Berks County $500. Is there any, you want to make any revisions, clarifications? What? What, you want to give them more,
No, this was all budgeted.
Oh, this is the budget right now, we're actually gonna disperse.
That is
Right.
correct. This
Right.
was,
So his comments would be for the next year's budget.
Right, so does anybody want to, so there'll be a motion here soon about to disperse the amounts as stated. Does there anybody want to make comments about budget amounts for next year's budget on these 4 categories?
So I worked with the county system for a while. It's a really convoluted form that distributes the money from the state and from the county system. $3 per citizen leverages a certain amount. $5 per citizen really gets you a lot more bang for the buck. If we give more per capita, that will be fine and gratefully received and well used, but it won't leverage any more county or state money.
Doesn't make the apple any shinier, is what you're telling me.
Well, it will.
They'll take that money, but they won't get it.
Yeah, they won't be matched, it
So
won't
a
be
dollar
any
will be
amount.
a dollar will be
Yeah,
$10.
anything over 5 is really not a match, gets a higher match from any other source, is that right? Okay. So you're suggesting that the $5 is adequate, or,
I'm suggesting that's a conversation for the 2026 budget,
Yeah.
but not related to this particular motion. I think since Mike is working with the board and the current staff, he'll be the one to speak to.
Well, I'll make a motion, we make the 2025 contributions as outlined.
Second. Motion been moved and seconded to make the distributions as outlined. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Anything else?
Motion to adjourn.
Sorry.
Motion been moved and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion, thanks for your time.
Can I say something?
Yeah, go ahead.
Sure.
Post